What's happening, MuniciPals? I want to talk to you about the brand new golf ball markers from Matchstick Golf. The golf season upon us, and the Masters is right around the corner, and Matchstick is ramping up and raring to go. They've recently released two markers in collaboration with Manzanita Links, one of Oregon's best coastal golf courses. You can get King Sevi, the Seagull, or the Spirit of Oregon crest right now, or if you want something more formal, grab the all-new Bachelor Cash Stack, an all-new marker featuring a wad of $100 bills bound with a black bow tie and finished in gold. It's perfect for a bachelor party gift for your groomsmen. And of course, you can always use code MUNICIPALS at checkout for 20% off your first order. Head to matchstickgolf.com, get all new ball markers at a great price. Matchstick Golf, set fire to the greens.
How hard did you push it? Till I black out? Yes. Numerous times, yes.
What's happening, MuniciPals? This is Big C and Ashton. We are talking the Reserve Vineyard in Oregon. So when Nick and Ashton came up to get fitted from me, we got the privilege to go out to the coast and play with our boy Matty Brown. And then on Sunday, before the guys had to fly out, I took him to one of my favorite courses out here in Portland. What's cool about the Reserve, it's actually a semi-private golf course, which means publicly accessible, so it still works for the pod. What's cool about it, for the members, they have 36 holes out there. So what they do is they rotate the 18s. Half the month they open 118, the South, for the public, and then the other half of the month they open the North course for the public, and then they shut the other one down for the private side. So really cool setup. And I think more courses should do stuff like this or open up things, because I think it just would be awesome. But Ashton, what's happening, my man?
It's good to talk to you, man. Letting people behind the curtain, it's a little unconventional. We're doing this on just a random Friday night. Yes, this is when you have a podcast, sometimes you got to record on a Friday night, So, but it's good to talk to you. Yeah, I know we've been talking a lot about fitting. It's been very fun, very exciting. I'm sure there's a cohort of gearheads who really enjoyed it, and I'm sure there's many people who saw the title and deleted it. So selfishly excited to get back to the bread and butter of this podcast. And yeah, I mean, I don't know what I expected. I know that you really, really liked the Reserve. It's not that I didn't believe you. I was more of just like, I've heard a lot of other places from you. And to kind of just cut to the chase, it exceeded expectations. So it was already kind of really nice to kind of go through and think about the holes that really stood out. And excited to dive in even deeper, because this place was awesome. And I'm also really excited to get back out there. Conditions are a little crispier. It was a little wet when we were there. And also see the North Course as well. But I totally want to say +1 to what you were saying. I just think that being able to have two courses, it diversifies play for members. I'm sure us being out there and paying our $76 reduces their fees. I know not everyone can have a 36 kind of course area, but man, if you can, seems pretty ideal. Especially too, one thing we'll get into, two pretty very well-established architects. So really cool to have two different architects build two different courses. So big fan, and can't wait to get back out there for sure.
Yeah, so two architects talking about. So we've got John Faust, which is actually a Pacific Northwest native, Portland native, that won 77 USAM, played on tour for a while, has designed a bunch of courses around the Pacific Northwest. And then you've got Mr. Cupp, who actually is really well known for designing Pumpkin Ridge, both courses out there, and plenty other courses across the country. So it has great bones, really good architecture, and fun design that anybody at any level can play. I think that was a
Yeah.
big thing I think we found out there. I mean, they have so many different tee boxes that you can play from 60, 200 all the way back to 71, which I thought was a great, flex on their end.
And combo tees too. So I mean, you can kind of make it up as you go, which I love. But yeah, very very accessible, and also not penal. I mean, it's weird because normally I think when you look at a slope rating, a high slope rating tends to denote a lot of force carry and hazards and issues. There are definitely some hazards. In fact, we haven't talked about it yet, but on your favorite hole out there, there's actually hazard on one side. But I think the rating is 133, which is very, very high, especially for a course where there's not a lot of shit. I mean, I know that I didn't play great. I shot 82, but like it was a course where, I mean, I wasn't scoring great, but like I came nowhere close to making a double bogey. Like there was a double bogey was not in the card. I couldn't score at all. But, usually the course with those 133 ratings are like just crap left, crap right. You've got to fly at 200 yards. So very, very accessible. And again, to your point, more tees, please. And I also noticed too, we didn't talk about this there. I think it was kids tees. So also too, you would see certain holes where they would see it in the middle of the fairway. And I didn't pay enough of attention, but it seemed like something where, like we've talked about, they were placed in thoughtful spots. It wasn't just like chuck the tee 100 yards forward. It's like I kind of looked and I was like, okay, well, they put them past the dog leg. So it wasn't like this weird situation where it's like, well, this shot doesn't make any sense. More tees, more combinations. And also, too, I have to imagine being in the Pacific Northwest, you can comment more on this, the weather has to play into it, right? Like that day we were playing, it was kind of cold and damp. I imagine if we play that place in July, the ball's going to roll 30 more yards off the tee. So it helps too, because I was like, yo, let's play up. We've tired, we've hit a million golf balls after our fitting. I'm not even woke. I haven't had any coffee. I think the first swing, my back cracked in like 9,000 places. Like, wasn't looking to wail on the golf ball. But if we're warmed up and it's 2:00 and it's July, let's play back, right?
No, absolutely. And that's the kind of the thing with the Pacific Northwest is you get like a 3-4 month window where the ball flies further, rolls out more, all of that. And then we get back into the wet, damp weather and you're dealing with a lot shorter ball flights and no rollout. And I mean, normal Pacific Northwest golf. So it's a whole different realm out here than some of you Bay Area guys get to play year round with kind of the weather that you get out there. But I would say one thing about the slope rating is the greens and how they're designed and protected, I think is where the challenge comes in at this course. It's a very wide open course. You can blast it all over the place, to be on. I mean, like literally, I think there's 2 or 3 holes that you kind of have to hit through a chute, and there's trees on either side, and they're both on the back 9. But majority of the course is pretty wide open. I mean, you can't really get in a lot of trouble. What really protects it is there's a lot of greens near creeks and, little ponds, and protected by having them elevated with bunkers left or right up in front of them. I think that's where the slope rating kind of comes in. And then also just extremely well-designed green complexes, challenging slopes, different levels and tiers, sizes of the greens, I think is also a big thing because they're pretty large. I mean, you get a lot of land mass used up by these green sizes. So it kind of leans towards, you might hit a green, but then you're going to have a, 30-foot left to right double breaker.
Yeah, no, totally. And I mean, also too, something else we'll talk about, like 11 and 17, for example, have, like you said, like a double green where it's like, I think Brian, kind of hit it a little bit long, and he had like a 30-yard putt, it feels like. I mean, it was like, he was kind of in between the two, but that's great. But I think, yeah, there's a double green on 2, right? 2 and No,
Yep.
three, and then another hole as well. So
Yep.
to see those features and slopes is awesome. And then like another example too is I forget the hole, but there was the one hole where there's sort of like a ski slope green, but like coming off of that ski slope was water, right? So if you like want to play it up the hill, you can, but again, when it's crispy, I would probably not want the ball actually coming all the way down that hill because they could easily go in the water. Which again, to your point, really making you hit precise golf shots. But again, at the same time, not forcing you where it's like there's crap everywhere and you're going to hit it OB and lose a bunch of golf balls, which is all we can ever hope for. So one thing I'll share, because to kind of, especially for me, I know I actually, honestly, y'all, I have no idea where people listen from. We've seen the map. We have listeners in Seoul, South Korea. Shout out to you guys. Like, no clue why you're listening to this, but like, shout out to y'all. Also, DM us. Like, if you guys want to talk about public golf in South Korea, like, would love to hear about that. Dead serious.
Yeah.
But for people, this is in Beaverton, which is a kind of suburb. Well, I think it's in Aurora. It was, Chris.
Aloha.
Basically, Aloha, which is crazy. I think Aloha. No, Aloha. Basically, Beaverton, like on the way there, it's probably 20 minutes from Chris.
Yep.
In Portland, we drove past the Nike kind of campus. We drove past the Intel factory. And then you just kind of get there and you pull in, and like it's definitely, it says that it's a working vineyard as well, and kind of this big, beautiful, maybe too opulent. Like it sort of looked like a gigantic log cabin, like in a very like grandiose way. I'm not shitting on it. It just was like, it just kind of felt a little
It looks
unnecessary.
kind of like a French chateau in the mountainside. Yeah.
A French chateau. That's a good way to put it. But Chris, do you know the origins of like, was it a winery and they built a golf course? Was it a golf course they built a winery, or did they do both at the same time? But do you have any context on kind of the history of that land?
I don't have too much context on it. I've
good.
actually only been able to play it, just a handful of times. And I actually have never played the North Course. I don't know why I always catch it on the South Course days, but that's just the course I've played probably about 4 or 5 times now. And I'm excited. I get to play the North Course coming up here in a week or so. But the South Course is just incredible. And the property is a little much when you get out there. It definitely caters toward the members. So anybody that does end up getting out there and going to play it, be prepared. There really isn't a turn house. There isn't a place to get kind of snacks or drinks. You kind of have to go up into this little bar restaurant area and order food, and they're pretty slow. So it's not like some place you can pop in, grab a hot dog on the turn or anything, which bums your boy out. But we did have, I would say, some of the best breakfast sandwiches we've ever had at a golf course. I mean, not even lightly saying that. They might have been the flakiest biscuits I've ever had.
And the breakfast potatoes, like I really love breakfast potatoes, hash browns, and like there was like rosemary and garlic. Well, the funny thing was to give people, because I think we need to do a little more banter than just the straight review. I remember when I go in there, and y'all had not been there yet. I was the first one in there, and I like go to order, and the lady goes, "Okay, like what would you like?" And I was like, "Are y'all backed up?" And she goes, "Nobody's placed an order yet. Like she's like the cook is just sitting back there." I was like, "Perfect." I placed my order, and like 15 minutes later, it's not ready. I was like, "No offense, like what is this chef doing?" Like I went to the bathroom, grabbed some coffee, like went to the pro shop, come back, and y'all are still sitting there. I was like, "It's not ready." Like, it's fucking breakfast sandwiches. You'd think also maybe a big brain idea, maybe just bake like 10 breakfast sandwiches like preliminarily, right? Like maybe have that stuff ready to go. But then I kind of gave them a break because then I opened it up and I took a bite and I was like, this is delicious. Then you get to the hash browns or the potatoes with the rosemary and garlic. I'm like, maybe this guy like roasts the potatoes on the spot. Again, maybe do it a little sooner, but I got to give props. And also too, I mean, free is a relative term because you're paying for the round. Free coffee in the hallway. Like you walk in, like coffee's over there to your left. Again, that's some like member shit, I guess. But I'm not gonna lie, did not dislike it.
No, I mean little perks that you get when you're at like a semi-private. I don't know if the coffee was for us as public guests, but you know what? I'm gonna help my fucking self.
No,
And
when I checked in, the guy actually said, he's like, "Oh, you've already paid for your round," because big shout out to Big Chris, buying golf moose tee times at a semi-private course. I love
hell
that.
yeah,
But then he goes,
always
"Oh, hey,
getting
you
the
guys have already
discount.
paid for your round. Just go over here and help yourself to some coffee." And I was like, "Well, I don't mind if I do." So, although this is your time, Chris, to scream about the cart price, go ahead.
Yes, as a man that tends to ride a decent amount, was a little upset when I got there and I already paid $76 for my round, and then all of us were pretty dead tired. We've been kind of, you know, running the midnight oil and just, fitting them multiple times while they were out there, and then also just hanging out at the coast with Maddie Brown pretty late. So we were all pretty tired. So none of us really were in a walking mood.
Walking was not going to happen.
Yeah,
I'm a walker. No way.
No, it just wasn't going to happen. So we were all really stoked to have some Irish coffees and just, keep it pushing in the cart. And we go and check in. And I'm like, all right, we're all going to ride. And they're like, oh, that'll be $80. I give this motherfucker a dead ass stare. And I go, excuse me, I already paid for my round. And he goes, yeah, you did. It's $20 a person to ride. I was like, you got to be. I absolutely said this. This is not me sugarcoating it. I was like, you got to be fucking kidding me. And he looks at me and he goes, nope, $80. Hand him my card because we're all fucking tired. I don't think any of us would have cared at that point. And
well,
then
let's also say one thing we can roast you on. You have a Shrixon staff bag.
Yeah, like, that also wasn't going to be walkable.
You cannot walk. You're not a walker, but you couldn't do that. And our boy Brian, he has a very much a cart bag. So you guys could not have done it.
We were not in with the proper tech to be able to walk.
But the thing worth noting, though, that's important, and this goes to amenities, is there's some places I can't believe this. We haven't done a pod yet about Yocha Dehi, which we should and we will.
Yep.
But Yocha's golf carts are they hug you. They're this leather. There's a GPS system. You can call in food from anywhere. The carts have the wheels have rims. I mean, they just stuff the sides full of water. It is I've never been so happy. I mean, I think a cart's just included because it's also not a walkable course.
It's not.
But it's amazing. These were not good golf carts. These were some janky ass golf carts, which $20 for a janky ass golf cart. It's a bit of a tough scene.
It wasn't good. It wasn't a good look. And you know what? At that point, we were just like, fuck it. The course was definitely worth it. After these guys got out there, I've been hyping this place up for a while, saying, the reserve is so good. The course is amazing. They got Bermuda sand bunkers that are super fluffy, just as fluffy as their biscuits. And it's just a great course. And so, when we step onto the first tee, really polite, nice guy running the check-in house and getting everybody started, and it ball markers at the tee box, little trinkets that kind of get you a little excited, nice little things. And the first hole in the South Course, just a nice handshake. It's wide open. You got a football field wide place to hit the ball. You got a bunker right that's only about 210, 220. So, I mean, most people with a 3-wood can carry it. Driver, absolutely no issue. And then you leave yourself with a nice little hundo, 80 in to a pretty inviting green to start it off. And I think it's a great, great first hole because it gives you kind of a lay of the land of the property. You can see the trees, you can see, the creeks and lakes that run through the entirety of the property. And it's just beautiful and it's quiet and it's weird because it's tucked in a neighborhood, but you'd have absolutely no idea that you were in a neighborhood. And I think that's, chef's kiss to the designers of this course to kind of keep it inland, keep it off of the street, keep it away from the houses, and doesn't feel like the neighborhood's encroaching.
Yeah, and they did. I don't know what to call it because I've seen it like at some places in Atlanta, but they have this. I guess they have it like Harding too. They have sort of that like green tarp fence essentially, but they also do a really good job with the trees. They layered the trees in such a way where you're looking at the trees as opposed to anything else. And to your point, feels like I think there's maybe number 1, 2, 3, 4, maybe number 5. You see the houses, but I think that's honestly the only hole we saw a house all day.
No, yeah, pretty much. And then when you're coming into the property, you drive through the neighborhood. But yeah, other than that, I mean, it's beautiful, beautiful piece of land. And you start with that really bit of a handshake of a first par 4 hole, and then you get to go into, a really fun par 3 on the second hole, which is just kind of a double tier green where they kind of have a lot of room to play with the hole. And it's a fun little, double handshake when you get through there. And then you get to a little bit more of a challenge on the third hole. Third hole is a bit of a dog leg left with this, wide open area on the right that also pairs you up with number 9 on its way back to the clubhouse. And so you can hit it wide right, which I think a couple of the guys in the group hit it wide right over into the 9th fairway. And there's these cool, like, natural fescue, mounds that kind of separate the two fairways, but still have like breaks in between the mounds so that you can kind of either drive a cart or walk through. And so they don't make it to where it's these giant fescue areas where you're going to lose a bunch of balls. They're just little mounds to kind of fuck with you. It's just kind of to differentiate the two fairways. Like, they're not going to harm you. You might get a ball to kick a rye out of them, but like it's just, really cool, fun architecture. And dog legs left to a slightly elevated green that's blocked by a back left bunker, front right bunker up on the side of the hill. And it's just fun. I mean, you if you're hitting it in the right spots and you're striking the ball, and you're going to have a great time. The greens are where they're going to get you. And if you're having a bad putting day, it's going to be all bad for you. And I think that's kind of where Ashton scored a little bit higher than he would have, than his game, was playing that day, because the greens were kind of throwing him. And I think that was his big thing. And I think that's why I played so well, because, my short game and my putting was on point when we played out there that Sunday.
Well, this is all I'm going to say about going back to fitting, but even though you said I'm in the right putter style, it's been enlightening to realize that my putter is an inch too short. My grip is counterbalancing my putter. My head weight is not correct. And so, look, am I a good putter? No. Do I need to go talk to Brad about it? Yes. I need to practice it more? Yes. But it's also pretty helpful when your putter isn't like fighting you in so many ways, right? So yeah, I mean, I totally agree, especially on the back nine. I mean, I was murdering my driver and making bogey from like 90 yards, and like that is not fun. So we're working on it.
It's getting there. But let's talk favorite holes. So what was your favorite hole out there?
Chris, I'm actually going to let you go first because I agree with you. I'm going to give a different take because we cannot be saying the same hole. But you go first because your answer is the right answer.
So for me, if I'm going to go first, 17 which I am. 17 is my favorite hole on the course. It's a great hole. So 17 is a par 4. From the tees that we played it at, it plays at 410. I think it was playing more at 453 because I think it was playing on black because we played the combos. So that day, I think it was playing black that day, so it was 453. but it's a wonderful hole because there's a beautiful creek that runs along the left-hand side of it. You can pretty much play the ball wide right if you need to. It's a dogleg left with bunker on the right. There is the green kind of slopes. You have another creek that runs through the middle of the fairway about 260, 270, depending on the tee that you're playing. So you kind of have to lay up a little bit, and then you'll have a little bit longer of a shot coming in. And so, and then the green is shared with, it's shared with number 11 on the course. So it's a gigantic green that's got to be like, I don't even know. It's got to be like 7,000-8,000 square feet. This thing is freaking massive. And like Ashton was saying earlier, B Mace hit it long on his approach shot and then ended up having like, it might have been 30 yards. I don't even know. It was a long putt. His ball barely missed going in the water on the left-hand side, this little pond that runs along the left, or creek that runs along the left-hand side. And I think I hit it in the bunker right, and then I hit a great wood shot from out of the bunker to about 20 yards short, chipped it on, parred for that hole. And Ashton and Nick, I think, both hit great drives on there. And then, or Nick blew it right.
Yeah, and then I blew it left. I actually hit a really great 6-iron. Yeah, over the creek, and then I had a really good 6-iron. Like, it was probably the best swing of the day. Hit it like I'm an idiot. I yelled, "Get in the hole," and it was like 25 feet short. And then I proceeded to 3-jack, and I was like, "This is today in a nutshell."
Even for how wet it was, I think the greens were rolling at like probably a solid, between 10 and 11. And so they weren't running slow at all. One thing I love about the reserve, it drains really well. So, I will give Faust a massive amount of credit. I mean, the whole course slopes towards these creeks and ponds. So everything
natural drainage.
It's all natural drainage, and it just like there's no French drains out there or hidden, little
catch basins.
Yeah, you don't see any of those catch basins or the little grades that are in the middle of the fairway to catch drainage and stuff. It's all just well designed, and it just stays dry even after big downpours, which is incredible because Pacific Northwest, you need a few good courses like that you can rely on in the winter to be able to play. And the reserve is always a great, place to be able to get out to. But yeah. 17 by far favorite hole.
It's a good hole. Yeah. So, I mean, first of all, I think it's worth mentioning that overall a great golf course, and the front nine's great, but like the back nine is like really a bunch of bangers, like really, really, really good. Like 10 kind of gets you out there, but like 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 17, 16, and 18 are
16's incredible too, because you get that great view of the clubhouse, and there's a beautiful waterfall and creek that run through. You got to walk across the bridge to get to the green. Really, really cool cool hole. I don't think it's a great playing hole.
No, right. I was gonna say I originally when we got up there was like, this has to be the hole, but I think that if you're going to have a short drivable par 4, Captain Obvious here, it needs to have some sort of advantage. And the way that hole is designed, there's water right and sort of like rocks left. And I mean, in theory, yeah, you could do it, but like think about natural dispersions, like you have like a 20-yard bottleneck to hit it into. So like you really just want to hit a 6-iron and a wedge, and that's okay. It just takes all the strategy out of it, but it is a beautiful looking hole. The hole I want to talk about is one you mentioned earlier before we press record, Chris, but number 5. I mean, it is just a bear of a hole. I mean, I killed my driver. And then I think I hit a hybrid down there and still have like a 100-yard wedge shot. What'd you say from the back? It's like 605, you said?
Yeah, backs are 605 on that hole. I mean, it is a beast.
And I think it was into the wind that day too.
Yep.
But I think the other thing is too, they're not afraid of is, you'll have to help me remember this, Chris. I know there was a par 5 on the back where there was a tree in the fairway, but I believe there was trees involved here too, right? Like you couldn't just go for it.
Yeah, there's a little bit of trees issues there. I mean, they're more just strategic. A few trees placed on the right hand side because it kind of does this like wiggle through the fairway, so it kind of like comes left, then comes back right, then comes back left again towards the green. So there's a few trees that are placed there that will knock your ball down if you get anywhere near them. And the hole that you were thinking of was 15 on the back nine, where there's a tree smack dab in the middle of the fairway.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, but I think number 5 is great. But yeah, I mean, the thing I just really want to emphasize is like the back nine is just like banger after banger, like a bunch of like really, really good holes. I'm curious, Chris, this is a separate discussion. It's not necessarily about the reserve, but something we haven't talked about kind of golf course architecture wise. How do you feel about a course like the reserve that has so many like fairways that you can blow it into other fairways? Like, do you like that? Because I would say normally I'm like, oh, it's like generous and wide and a lot of the stuff we say. But I think also, not that it matters as a public course, but like you just end up like sort of like, I mean, balls are just like flying in every direction. Like, is that a good feature? Like, I don't know. What do you think about that?
I think there's
that probably happens on like what, 6 holes here, where it's like you're hitting, you can hit it across like a bunch.
Yep. I think there's places for it. I think there's times where I want to go play courses like Eastmoreland that are tree lined on every hole. You got to hit it through chutes. You got to make sure that you're hitting it straight and hitting fairways, or you're just going to be boned if you get into the trees. But then there's courses that, I throw you challenges differently, where it's going to be, a lot of water features, or it's going to be very protected greens with lots of slopes. I think there's just a place for all different types of architecture like that. And so the reserve's great to go to in courses like that, where it would be, places like Coyote Creek out in the Bay Area, or Carica Park in the Bay Area, where it's just wide open. It's a big ballpark. You can kind of smack it around wherever you want, and large greens that'll make you feel good about hitting them, because you can basically hit them but still have 45, 50
up feet. It does have a lot of those. Yeah.
Yeah.
A lot of holes you can hit it. And there's some holes like even at Carica, like number 17 at Carica. Like I've not played there enough to know this, but the guys who play there a bunch are like, oh, like you should just blow it into like 14. Like they think the better line is to actually just hit it into the other fairway of 14 or 15. I forget which hole. And it's like, again, part of me is like, that's cool, I guess. But it's also, I don't know. I'm not trying to be like, like a parent, but it's like, I don't know, just picture like getting smacked in the head by a golf ball from some dude aiming on the wrong fairway. I don't know. But I don't know if it's trying to be a lame take. It's
the same thing, but then you go play Presidio and it's tight shoots. You got to hit it straight. You got to really hit your spots. So you get a mix of both.
Except for like number 10, for example, you can hit it left into 9 fairway, or I always hit the pole into 18 fairway, and then you get to 18 and then you hit it into 10 fairway, and then you get to 11 and you can hit it into 17, or you know what I mean? Like, but I don't know. It's like part of me is like, I am not promoting tight. I'm not promoting OB. But leaving there, again, love the golf course. So I was like, man, there's a lot of holes. You can just kind of like blow it into their fairway. It doesn't make any difference. But
yeah, I think it's good for the well-rounded amount of golfers that are out there. I think, for the high handicaps to the scratch golfers, it gives you a challenge throughout the course. And I think that's a sign of good golf course architecture. Just like why we all love Carica Park, because it doesn't matter what handicap you are, you're going to enjoy those type of golf courses at all levels. And so I think having those places to miss and being able to blast it all over the place and still enjoy yourself, it lends to to be able to cater to a lot more different types of golfers out there.
Well, and the other thing too is like the one thing you can say for sure is like it does make the course playable because you know that on that hole you can hit it as far as you want to whichever side, and you have no excuse. Like again, 17 at Carica, if you hit it in the shit left, you're a fucking idiot. You have the world's biggest par 5 fairway over there. So that probably does help a lot with playability, but I'd be curious to how many people have gotten smashed in the face at the reserve. But Chris, to wrap up, I think we've talked about a lot of this, but I think it's always important to kind of circle back to our kind of like 5 key points we always talk about. So we talk about rate, for condition, and then also value for the area. I mean, the condition rate for condition is as good as I've played in a long time. What can you tell us about the value for the area? Like it's hard. 76 probably feels good. 96 the cart probably feels a bit steep. But what can you tell us about the value for the area?
Walking price for the actual conditions, it's like a medium price. I think good price is around $50 to $60 around is pretty average in Portland, especially coming into the spring and summer. They kind of up the prices a little bit because we are seasonal out here. So, you can catch really good rates in the winter because your ball's going to plug. You're not, all the winter type stuff that happens in the Pacific Northwest. But for $76, it's a really reasonable rate because you've got places like Pumpkin Ridge that's trying to charge $120. Not as good as the reserve. Skip Pumpkin, play the reserve. Telling you, save your money. That extra $50 will get you a sausage biscuit in the morning, and pay for your cart. Save your money. I think and then you've got Langdon Farms, which is, about $100 to play. And then you've got your normal munis with like Wildwood and Eastmoreland and Rose City and all those type places that are going to be around that $50 to $60 range. So I think 76 for what you get. I mean, that's why I like playing there so much, because I don't mind spending the extra $16 for a place that's like Rose City and Eastmoreland, in my mind, are a solid, good 7. The reserve is a solid 9.5. Like it's in for that extra. Well, comparatively to the other public options in Portland.
Oh, okay.
Yes. So not 9.5 when it comes to like.
I want to be like, what do you rate Sheep Ranch? Like a 15?
Yeah. Well, yeah. And that's, I mean, according to all the other public options you have in Portland, I give it a good solid 9.5. Where like, Wildwood's a solid 8. Eastmoreland's a good 7.5. Rose City's a good 6.5, 7. Langdon's probably a solid 8. Stone Creek is a solid 8. There's some solid ones out there, but I think the reserve is just that much better than all of the other public options.
Cool. I don't know as much as you, but I was more than happy to pay $76 for that quality. Conditions and greens, great. Nothing to comment on there. Layout, I don't know really I guess we kind of just had the discussion about, I think we've talked a lot about the undulating greens being the defense.
Very walkable golf course. So for all our walkers out there, extremely, extremely flat property. Not a lot of undulation going through the fairways, and the green to tee box walks are really short. There's not a lot of, walks in between. So if you are a walker, you can get out there for $76 and it's a good deal.
But the thing to mention though is like, because I was watching, because I'm a psychopath, I was watching the No Laying Up video and then went to Sheep Ranch, and actually Bill Core makes the point that Sheep Ranch is actually far more hilly than it appears originally. But the point was they were doing kind of a low view and showing all kind of the humps and bumps on the fairways. I can confirm that the reserve is flat, but I don't think it feels that way when you're out there, just because there's a lot of undulation. So I want to be clear. I've played flat Portland golf with you, and that's totally fine. I'm not saying it's better or worse, but if you're someone who likes to walk that combination of like flat with the undulation of your feet, like it's great because it means like, definitely had side hill lies, definitely had, the ball wasn't always flat. So it's kind of the perfect situation where like, you're not walking up and down mountains to get kind of different feelings. It's flat, but then it's kind of like crinkled. The ground is like kind of like moving a little bit.
It's very gradual grades kind of all over the place. So you don't feel like you're going, drastically up and down hills. It's just, gradual raises and slopes that kind of bring you throughout the property.
100%. Amenities we've discussed. Go get the sandwiches. The one thing as a kind of anecdote to people that'll just make people laugh. I'm not trying to call people soft. Maybe I am. When I picked up Nick at the range, because I just didn't hit any balls, there was a members only section that was underneath a heated tent. In theory, that's cool. I think that's also very lame. And all these signs on the outside say members only. It's like, I get it. Only the members get to hit balls in a heat. I mean, I make fun of them on a cold day. That's wonderful. But if you want to go hit balls in a heated tent,
so it's the same with the turnhouse as well. So there's a turnhouse right underneath the restaurant in the clubhouse. And it's members only. So they're the only people that can get snacks on the turn. And unless you see the cart girl,
makes no sense.
Which I will say, the cart girl situation is on point. We saw her probably 5-6 times in our round. And so, and she had Irish coffees on deck, any type of alcohol you needed, like great cart situation. So definitely love that.
You didn't get a hot dog, right? No.
Did not get a hot dog. I've never gotten a hot dog out there. I don't even think they do hot dogs in the restaurant. I think I asked once. So they might have one at the turn house, but I'll never know because I'll probably never be a member.
That's amazing. And pace was good. Nothing to comment.
Pace is great. I've never had an issue out there. It's 4.5 on the dot every single time I've played there. It's never slower and never faster. It's always exactly 4.5 hours on the dot.
Yeah, no, it's great. No, cool. I mean, there's not a better way to spend a Friday night than talking about a great golf course. And like I said, just good to have enjoyed the club talk, but also someone is not a gearhead. Like I probably would have tuned us out, and I'm over here being the thirsty Mira boy. So it was definitely good to kind of get back to our roots. And man, like I said, I going to be coming up back for Liz's brother's graduation here very like beginning of June. So what I'm hoping we can do is, a couple of those nights I can stay with you and then, or I don't know, like we can go play 9 holes to reserve in the evening. And then we're kind of cooking up an idea, like maybe, oh my God, what's the course of the US Open?
Chambers Bay.
Potentially think about Chambers Bay, but
if we want to drive 2.5 hours, we've also got a great course down where Oregon State is in Corvallis with Tristan Tree.
You've mentioned Tristan Tree a bunch.
Tristan Tree's wonderful. So maybe we'll do a Tristan Tree day since it's only about 35-40 minutes from my house instead of.
But the point is, though, I do think us getting out for at least the 9-hole loop one day after work at the reserve, it's top of mind. I really want to see that place when it's a little crispier because, guys, it's good. Go play it. That's all we can say.
Go play it. Great golf course. You come to Portland and you only got one day, skip Pumpkin, play the reserve.
I don't disagree with you, not knowing having played Pumpkin, but I think there's going to be some people punch you in the face on your DMs, and I'm excited to see it. But also, too, like, I'm not trying to shout us out, but, like, we need more I'm looking at the time as we do this. 42 minutes. This should be the time of our podcast. I know sometimes you creep into that, to be honest, land of like 1:15. And I'm sure you guys are out there being like, whatever, except for you South Koreans. Maybe you guys are just like longer podcasts. No one's saying that. But yeah, Chris, fun to spend a Friday night talking the reserve with you, my man.
Yeah, man. I love that course. Get out and play it. You'll get more reviews coming. I've got some great courses that I have on my docket that I'm going to get out and play, and we're gonna have to talk big time about the cookout coming out too. So I'm excited for that.
Yeah, and just as a heads up for people, I think the week after this one, Chris is having on the CEO of Club Champion, it's going to be awesome. Like, it's how cool that we get to talk to him. But just so you know, we're probably talking some club fitting, and then we're going to make a concerted effort to turn away from club fitting for quite a while. So one more again with the big boss himself, but again, one more, and then we're really going to focus on golf courses and other kinds of guests.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Well, Chris, you have a good weekend. Okay.
You too, buddy.
Peace.
Late.